If I invited you over for a little dinner of, say, a little popetti di tacchino with an insalatina di radicchio and a boiled honey dressing, you would say, wow, is that elegante or what? But if I said, yo, why don't you come over for a turkey burger on a salad with a little honey dressing, you would think that's a little low cotton, right? You know, it's all about presentation. Presentation and flavor, you're gonna see how we turn turkey into a really elegant meal. But on top of that, some of my heritage, my mother's heritage of cheesemakers, I'm gonna make some mozzarella and put it in a carriage. It's gonna blow your mind. And if all that gets you too hungry to wait to eat anything, I'm gonna do a little Lucca-style olive, a little stezzacchino to put in your mouth while I get ready with everything else.
Michael Chiarello Napa is funded by Sultan, innovative products for a healthy today and tomorrow, featuring a full line of Breadman machines to make artisan breads for use in your own home. Sultan, we'll bring out the baker in you.
By Sunkist, fresh citrus taste, cooking with Sunkist throughout the day. Sunkist, our promise, your inspiration.
By All-Clad Metal Crafters. All-Clad is bonded construction. All-Clad is functional design. All-Clad is professional equipment. All-Clad is a state of mind. And by Wolf, makers of ovens, cooktops, and ranges to fuel a passion for cooking.
You know, we all have this really romantic notion of having 8 or 10 or 12 people in the kitchen with you, preparing meals, cutting ingredients, dicing. You know what? I think that's a notion in our head. What I really like is people to be on that side of the kitchen, having a short conversation and a little bite to eat. These little tastes are called a stuzzichino. Now, if you want them to kind of be quiet and put them in their mouth, we add the word be quiet, which is stezito. So we have a stezzacchino. Now, nothing better than something that they have to maneuver in their mouth a little bit like an olive and get the pit out. Well, they're trying to figure out how to do that in a socially acceptable way. You can get the rest of your work done. Now, one of my favorite ways to prepare olives, what I want to do is accent those flavors, and we're going to do it with a little bit of orange. Now, when you're trimming orange, you could use a potato peeler, but I like to use a knife just because I can, maybe. And when you're doing things like this, don't move the knife, move the orange, okay? So the knife stays at a 45. Now, the orange zest, you don't want that much white skin. The white is bitter, the orange part is good. So you see that I got a little bit of white and mostly orange. We're just going to take a couple peels of that. Now all we're going to do to make a little julienne here is stack them up like little soldiers. Hold them together and give them a quick. I love to see orange combined with something like garlic. You don't expect to see those two flavors together, and that's just it. It really does an amazing thing in your mouth. Now, you could slice it, you could mince it, you can do all that, but I love the flavor of just crushed garlic. You take your knife, turn it upside down, take the heel of your hand, and just give it a whack. It releases enough of the garlic flavor without making the olives too garlicky. Now, what we're going to do is get a little toast on the garlic first. So first off, olive oil goes in the pan. As you can see, I have a hot sauté pan, and the garlic goes in, and we're just gonna open the flavor up of this garlic. Now, you always see me tip my pan here, because I like even caramelization when it goes to cooking things like this. There we go. So those go in. Now your mixture of olives. Be sure to drain the olives better than I did today. Niçoise. Quick toss, just like that. What we want to do is, we don't want these really to cook, we just want them to heat through. As you heat the olive up, it kind of opens its pores to take in the flavors that we're adding to it. The orange zest goes in. And right at the end, a little fresh thyme. And you can do these a day ahead, a week ahead. I always have different marinated olives sitting in the fridge. So somebody comes over, you don't know, so, oh my God, there's Michael, he came to visit. We don't have anything to eat. Sure, you got a little zucchino of olives. My family were cheesemakers. Now, not cheesemakers like you would think, like it's so romantic. You know, they had a couple cows, they had a little store, they milked the cows, brought the milk to the store. If they had some extra milk, they made cheese. Get it? Cheese making and all this olive oil making and wine making, it was part of our everyday life. It wasn't some romantic thing where people actually sat around and talked about it. Now, you can't really do this at home. I mean, you could do it if you had a little cheese shop and they make fresh mozzarella and you say, listen, can I buy a couple pounds of curd? But more importantly, I wanted to show you how mozzarella is made. You just wait for the water to heat up this curd and encourage it to stretch. And that just takes a couple of minutes. I'm going to drain off the excess water here. And we're going to turn it into a ball, and these are incredible. And as soon as it gets silken and smooth, I'm going to stick my hands in this boiling hot water and turn them into a cheese. All right, watch close now. This is going to go quick. What I put it in is saline. What saline is salt water. Two reasons for the saline. One is to get flavor on the cheese. Two, to create a skin. As soon as it goes in the salt water, salt does what it normally does. It pulls the water out of the cheese a little bit and gives us a skin, and that protects all the milkiness of the cheese on the inside, which is just fantastic. And of course, it gives us some flavor. So that's going to take a couple of minutes. Now the idea, oh, it's still warm. And look at this. Oh, look at that. Now you take a little bit of olive oil. Can I buy that? If I could do nothing in my life but make mozzarella for people every day and give them that bite, they would really have an idea of what cuisine can be. Now, I'm going to take this mozzarella and I'm going to turn it into a sandwich, really, not really. What that's called is a carrozza. And what a carrozza is, mozzarella and carrozza is mozzarella in a carriage. And what I'm going to do is mix a couple of my favorite ingredients, anchovies, chili paste, and anchovy. I have a salt-packed anchovy. I like them in salt. Now all we do is rinse the salt off of them and then fillet them. They have a much better flavor. All we're going to do is mince these up. I'm going to take a clove of garlic. And I like things that aren't always minced together or put in a food processor. So a lot of times I like to use a knife. In the kitchens when I apprenticed, most of our mashing was done like this. You take a knife that's got a little bend, you use the heel of your hand, and you push it in. And then you're just kind of macerating the flavors together. Okay, so this mixes in. I'm going to take a little bit of chili paste. This is the paste that's going to go on the bread. So we take a couple good slices of bread. You know, bread is to your left hand what a good glass of wine is to your right hand. And for so long, we didn't have great bread. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually rubbing it in. I don't need all this much paste, but I do need the flavor to be rubbed in on both sides. Okay, now this fresh mozzarella, we're going to cut into some bigger chunks. With fresh cheese like this, you do not want to cut it too thin. I'm going to cut them in some little dices like this. On they go. Now the idea is not to make like a big old grilled cheese sandwich, just enough to weep in there. We're going to take some oregano, drop a few oregano leaves on top. The idea is that every bite's a little bit different. Black pepper. And the only thing different between a normal grilled cheese sandwich and this, other than the flavor that we have inside, is how we finish it. And I love these because they take a little bit of egg and milk mixed together, and that gets dipped. So it's kind of like French toast in a sandwich, which is really fun. You can imagine the different ingredients that you can put together with this technique. The milk just breaks down the egg so it's not too much like scrambled egg on the outside. Of course you're going to season this. Everything has flavor. Dip each one in the egg and go right onto the griddle. Now these are not meant to be eaten hot, okay? All of these things, these little fritos like this, in Italian cooking, are meant to be eaten room temperature, all right? We get too freaked out about everything needing to be hot. These little guys you do ahead, you leave them whole once they're griddled like this. When your guests come, if you want to serve them warm, you put the whole thing in the oven. It gets nice and crispy. You cut the crusts off, cut them into little pieces and serve them. Everybody's happy. Now we're going to give these about 1.5 minutes on each side to cook through. Now, like I said, we're going to serve these as an hors d'oeuvre. A little stezzacchino, as we said. Oh, God, I wish you guys could smell what I smell now. Now as these flavors come out, you can smell the chili and the anchovy. Now if you want to do fancy, I like to cut the crusts off. All right, little teeny triangles. You can do them smaller if you like, but I like a little bite, something that you can hold on to. To serve these, I like to serve them as a little bite that's kind of sitting up. The whole concept of a tea sandwich to me, where you're sitting around, your pinkies are out and all that, no. These little paninos like to have a little something going on. I want people, when they're over at our house, to come up and not only have a fun presentation, think about how you present things every once in a while. Right? I think we get too caught up. We want everything on a plate. We have no height in our presentations. We're not really thinking about it. But you come up like this, I'm walking up, say, oh my God, look at that. That looks fantastic. I think I'll have one of those. And then boom. You taste it first with your eyes, and then you taste it with your mouth, and they will be blown away. Stone walls have been a part of my family for about 100 years. When my grandfather came over and took a ranch up and around Mount Shasta, the entire family went to work on it. You'd have to clear roads, make roads, get ready to figure out where you're going to plant your winter wheat, and everybody get involved. The women and the men, they'd take a tractor, and as the tractor was tilling up the rocks, the women would be creating a little assembly line, moving the rocks off to the side, and at the very end, my grandmother would build the stone walls, and those stone walls still exist today alongside that winter wheat patch. On the top of that ranch, when I was building this house, I went up and got some of my grandfather's stones to keep a warm place in my home for him and my memories of him. So the foundation of my family is now the foundation of my home. Stone walls throughout the ages have played a role in people's lives in a number of different ways, in really exquisite ways right here in the Napa Valley. I come from the turkey capital of the world, Turlock, California. That's right, we have more turkey, so I got a bucket of turkey dishes. So we would be able to get turkey very inexpensively growing up because everybody had turkeys. You know, hey, you want some turkey? So we have some ground turkey. I have some spring onions that are just fantastic. You could use red onion, yellow onion, shallots, if you want to put garlic. The idea I'm going to show you is how to make a little patty of turkey into a really elegant meal. So using any ingredients you want. A little bit of lemon juice inside, just to add a little bit of tartness and freshness, and egg yolk. Salt, pepper. When you're doing patties like this, you need a lot of flavor. You need more flavor than you think. And what I love about doing these little stuffed popetti is that the flavor of getting a little bite of mozzarella that we're going to put on the inside of this thing is just incredible. But before that, I'm going to mince up some sage. I don't think we cook with enough sage. We use that dried, rubbed sage. I don't know who's rubbing the sage, but I think they're rubbing all the flavor off. Fresh sage is just incredible. The flavors that just go together. Turkey and sage, if you think about it at Thanksgiving, you put that flavor rubbed off sage in your stuffing. We're going to mince it up. That hearty flavor we want to spread out a little bit. So the sage goes in. We're just going to mix these a little bit. Now these can obviously be done up until this point and actually formed into a patty ahead of time. So you mix these, breadcrumbs go in there. And that's going to hold this whole thing together. A little bit of lemon zest. Now lemon zest, you see me use lemons all the time, and I think it's my cheating method of getting a little flavor in there. In it goes. Barely mix in the lemon. That way when you get it, it's not permeating all the meat, just a little bite that you have. Now we're going to add a little bit of, I call it LMP because I can't say, what's the word, Worcestershire. Okay, I think that's everything. Now you're going to take and form them into a patty. Before you do that, you want to form them into a ball first. And you take these and learn these techniques where you're just kind of pushing with your whole hand and pulling them together. So those get pulled into a ball. Now for a patty, all we're going to do is give them a push. Now you see your hand right here, it's the right size. You push them together and let them, now you have to push a patty further than you think because as soon as the protein hits the pan, it's going to come together like this and get constricted. That ever happen to you making a hamburger at home? You start, you think you got a nice one, you have these little hockey pucks. Okay. Now these could be refrigerated like this up until this point. Okay, so what I'm going to do from here is take a piece of mozzarella and tuck it right in there, make one big patty, griddle this whole thing off, cut it in half. And that's a way of kind of hiding that it's a little turkey burger, and people will think it's something a little bit more elegant. Push the two together. So we have a little egg. You're going to get a quick mix. This is Wondra flour. Now you see me use Wondra all the time. That's that little gravy flour. What I like about it is that it doesn't clump up and get all gooey and gummy. Not at all. It's fantastic. So what we're going to do is go into a little bit of flour or just give it a little dusting. We're going to go right into the egg, using the fork to help keep my fingers dry. Into some breadcrumbs. These are fresh breadcrumbs, not dried breadcrumbs. More often than not, I will tell you to use a dried breadcrumb. I happen to like a fresh breadcrumb for this. It has a slightly different texture. So we're going to take a hot pan, a good amount of olive oil. Be careful when you're putting these guys in. Use a spatula. See, my oil's hot. We're going to drop them in. Now, if my oil wasn't hot, I'd put this popetti in, it'd fall to the bottom of the pan, it would stick, it'd be a big mess. So you need things that are hot. Gently drop them in. And where's my snack? By the time anybody gets to the house to eat, I've always done these little snacks for myself. By the time they get here, I'm full. These are great. You can begin to see them getting caramelized around the outside, and then they're time to turn over. Well, here's a little trick. Right, take two spatulas, and that way you can turn one onto another, like that, and drop them back in the oil. Do not try to flip these in here, no matter what direction you're going. Take the two spatula technique, okay? Boom, look at that. Whew! I still get excited when I nail it, you know, and even though I know that they're perfect, you turn them over for a second, there's that little bit of surprise, like, yes. There we go. Unbelievable. Now, these are turkey, so they need to cook through. We're going to go right into the oven, and they're going to take about 6 minutes. While that's going on, we're going to put this salad together. Now, what we have is some radicchio and some watercress, any greens at all, but I like hearty greens. This is not one of those Boston bib kind of salads. So I guess romaine would be okay. I like something that when something hot gets put on top of it, that actually tastes good still. So we're going to mix these two together. And the dressing is even more important. What you take is a little bit of honey. I have a lemon right here. And just give them a good ream. Salt. Black pepper. We're going to bring this up to a boil. The honey's going to melt inside with the lemon juice. We're going to add some extra virgin olive oil. All these guys kind of boil together. And what we're going to do is strain it right through my little skimmer here. And we're going to get any of those seeds out. This is one of my favorite dressings of all time. We have our greens all mixed together. Salt and pepper, of course. I'm going to throw a handful of raisins. For that agrodolce, that whole sweet and tart, handful of, let's do some of these guys. I have an apple. I have my fancy dancy little slicer. You can dice them. You don't need some fancy slicer, but what I like about slicing them really thin is they end up working more like a leaf of lettuce because they're so thin, so they fold right into the salad. Now, use the guide that they give you for these things. I think the first thing we do as professional cooks is throw the guides away, but we are professionals, you know. Now, don't go too far like this. Keep this little guy as a snack. All right, that's enough. Right there. Okay. Dressing goes on. Now, I like this to be a dressed salad. I need the dressing in there. I need the flavor. Okay, take those tongs that you were born with. Mix this guy together. Take a beautiful plate. Again, we've been talking about presentation all day long. The simpler your food gets, I think the more you want to think about your plates and platters. And that's adding a layer of complexity that's not in your cooking that day. In this case, a beautiful mound. I'm going to do this for 2. Fantastic. When you're cutting things like this, be deliberate. People kind of mess around a little bit and they end up squishing it all out. Go like this, walk up, boom, and that's it. There you have it. Look at that. This guy goes up over here. This guy on the other end. A little dressing over the whole thing. The great thing about cooking is that once you understand some techniques today, like the egg and the milk on the outside of the sandwich, that it doesn't have to be a big stack of bologna and pastrami inside to be flavorful. Once you can take that and add your flavors that you love with your family and your heritage, that's going to be fantastic. Every time I get a chance to make something like this that reminds me of my childhood, you get the entire visual of me at my mama's apron string trying to make some little meatballs, having a little snack like this that I would get that she'd always make for me that was our little secret. Those are the things that add to the flavor of life. When you can take simple foods with spectacular ingredients and surround yourself with people that you really care for, that's a recipe for success every time. What I love about low-cotton food like this is throw a little celebration into it. Don't be afraid to mix your beverages up. Grab a glass of champagne, in this case some Frank Family Vineyards right from the Napa Valley, and mix it with something as basic as can be. When you take something like a sandwich or a hamburger turned into a polpetti and serve it with sparkling wine, you're sure to have a celebration every night of the week.
Michael Chiarello Napa is funded by
Sunkissed, fresh citrus taste, cooking with Sunkissed throughout the day. Sunkissed, our promise, your inspiration.
by Sultan. Innovative products for a healthy today and tomorrow, bringing you the family of George Foreman's lean, mean, fat-reducing grilling machine. Sultan, the secret to indoor grilling. And by Wolf, makers of ovens, cooktops, and ranges to fuel a passion for cooking. And by All-Clad Metal Crafters,